Hello, my name is John Maddox. I am a principal consultant with Metrics That Matter. It's Explorance Metrics That Matter. And I'm here today with Amy Graft from Siemens, and we're going to do an interview. We're going to talk about showing the value of learning by running L&D like a business.
I'm Amy Graft, as you said, from Siemens. I work within the Learning Campus. I'll explain a little bit what Siemens is. So some of you may not have heard about Siemens, but my guess is you've probably encountered a Siemens product at some point in time, whether you went to the hospital with your child or yourself to get a broken arm scan, so CT scan, MRI, we make those. The very electricity that is in this building may be powered on the back end somewhere by a Siemens turbine, as well as if you've taken some of the railways, some of those railways may have been a Siemens train. So we're everywhere, and there's a good chance you have run into us at some point in time. Learning Campus is a global group, and we provide the training, the business learning training for all of the Siemens employees across all of the divisions. So we don't really do the technical product training, but we do the business skills. So it could be project management, regular management, product management, quality, sales, account management, as well as presentation skills, such as this. And what I'll cover today is kind of our journey as we became a self-funded organization, and also as we started using very seriously the measurements and metrics, which was a key part of becoming and sustaining our self-funding model.
So Amy, through this interview, I'm going to ask you probably 3 or 4 questions in our time. And the first one was, can you tell me a little bit about the allocated model versus the self-funded model and just the changes that happened there for you?
Yeah, that was interesting. So when we were allocated before, we were kind of a hybrid. So when I say hybrid, the people were covered. So we always had money covering the people, but then the training programs, we would do a cost allocation out to the employees for tuition. So if we had a $10,000 class and we had 10 people in it, everyone paid $1,000, cost of the class was covered. But our time was always covered through an allocation. And then this is around 6 years ago, the decision was made after a lot of research, but the decision was made that we would go self-funded. So that meant that the allocation to pay for myself and our team now had to be rolled into that tuition model. So it wouldn't be for a $10,000 class $1,000 anymore. It was $1,000 plus what we had to cover our team's expenses to deliver the training.
Yeah, so no minor change here. This is something big.
It was something really big, and we were all kind of thinking, well, what happens if it fails? And so we just decided not to test that and make sure it didn't fail.
Okay. So one of the keys to doing this well is measuring well and knowing what you're going from and what you're going to. In one of our conversations recently, you said measurement was the bane of what you were doing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, and please don't misunderstand that I dislike metrics. Not the case at all, but the problem was I was trying to get to the good metrics. And it wasn't even the stuff that we should be focusing on or stressing over. It was just getting the surveys out. So in the tools and stuff we used in the past, there's a lot of human intervention. And I love people, but that's usually where the errors are going to come in, is with the human intervention. So let's say we were running a really important pilot, and then I go to pull the data. It's like, oh, we forgot to set it up in the system. Sorry, we'll get it out now. So it's just little things like that. Or we did get it out, and then the data I get back is this Excel sheet that I have to scroll this way and scroll this way. And it was just raw data, and we couldn't really do anything with it. It'd take us 2 days to digest the material. And so that was the bane of my existence, was that if I collected the data, it was really hard to understand and use. And so when we migrated over to Metrics That Matter, and there's not many people that do what you guys do, and especially not do it well, not only were we getting everything automated to where now I get the reports, formatted reports with information, digested for me to say, this is what this means, here's where it looks good, here's where you may have some improvement. I would get it, the facilitators would get it, and it happened automatically. So, and now I could share this with our stakeholders to say, hey, here's what we're seeing from the training. So it was really a key thing for us because we needed that data to keep our stakeholders happy and to see how we're moving the bar. And now we finally had a way to do that easily.
Sure. So no longer the bane.
No. I
Excellent.
love the metrics now.
Fabulous. All right, let's go to the next one here. And there, amongst all the things that made it successful, going from one to the other, so allocated to your self-funded model. You just mentioned measurement. There are other factors that made it successful.
Yeah, there's actually 7 that made it. And so let me start with leadership. The leadership was important, one, because they thought through, would this model work? And would it work based on the target audience we have, what we're trying to do? Because keep in mind, we're doing this for our employees. So I don't have an infinite number of people I can sell to. We have a finite audience, and they need to keep coming back to us for training, so we have to be able to do a good job. And so the leadership was really important to say, yes, this would work, and then also to have the business mindset. So it's not just about the instructional design and training, it's really about understanding what the business does and understanding what it takes to equip the team. So if you go over to the people part, I read a really interesting article from Harvard Business Reviews talking about the innovative culture. And you always hear about you have to have the tolerance to fail. But what you don't hear about is you have to have the intolerance for incompetence. And so I really credit our leadership with making sure we had competent people on the team and the right mix of people. Now that mix is really, really important because previously things such as finance really didn't matter so much because we were allocated and we always had budget sheets and stuff for our training. So we knew we were covering costs, but that was easy. Well, now we had to run like a P&L, basically. And so we needed to have that BA person who could guide us and put everything into the system right. So that became a really key person for us.
Yep. So BA is business analyst?
Yes, the business analyst. So you're a finance person.
Dime a dozen in education, right?
No.
Okay.
Turns out they are not.
So critical to have the right person there.
Critical, and it's not, and it is, like you said, to have the right person for the training. Because a lot of times when you're working with your finance person in the organization, they're not necessarily aligned with what you're trying to do. Now, sometimes they will be, and then you're lucky, but not always. So it really helped for us to have our own dedicated person to make sure we were running the business well. We also had things like marketing. So now marketing is really important to us because we have to get the word out there that, hey, we're here, we want them to use us. Demand planning and yes, the stakeholder management. So we have on our team of 9 people supporting 52,000, actually around 67,000 or so in North America. We have people now aligned to all of our business divisions because we need to know what our stakeholders need. And so we have almost like our own account management team tied to all the business. So the people looks very different now than what we had previously. The technology is important. As I mentioned, the metrics that matter and any metric system you're using, you got to have a way to be able to get the data easily and run things well. Processes became important. Training coordination and making sure things run smoothly is always important, but when you can't get it wrong because you could lose a customer, it becomes a little bit more important. So there were certain things we had to make sure we always got right. We also added, like I said, the CRM process, the financial process, and that whole billing, and every single month forecasting and reforecasting where we were going to be. So it's like if you're trying to land an airplane, they're constantly making the adjustments. If they don't, they crash and burn. Well, we realize it's going to be the same for us. So every month we reconcile the budgets. Where are we? Are we over? Are we under? What levers do we need to change?
Now, were you worried early on about actually hitting those forecasts and being right on?
We were. But we also knew we had to try it and just do it, so we did. The other thing that was key were the consultants, such as yourself, and also we worked with Dave Vance for the Center for Talent Reporting. When we first started on this journey, and we were going to all the conferences, and we were just asking people, so do you have a self-funded model? Do you have a self-funded model? Do you have? The answer was if they did, it was for external, but never internal. And Dave was one of the people who we heard speak. And he was talking about all these wonderful reporting things. We thought, yes, that's where we need to be. And we talked to him afterwards. He said, oh, yeah, of course I did that. Let me talk to you about that. So he helped us understand the metrics and what we really wanted to focus on, and that forecasting and reforecasting, and to know it's not going to be accurate. It's a forecast. It's this. But it's better than nothing. And that, I think that forecasting and reforecasting was probably the key for everything. And that really helped us get a sense of where we were and to not panic.
Right. And Dave Vance was a former CLO at Caterpillar.
Yes.
And now he's with the Center for Talent Reporting.org, and they focus on talent development reporting principles. And it was a combination of all that was really helpful, right? To go from how do we really do this as a business?
Yeah, and he had that experience and insight to tell us. And some things he shared with us, when we went into this, we knew we had to, start focusing on all the executives and what we do. And in every organization, there's going to be the naysayers who are like, we don't need training. And so he was really good and clear about start with the people who value what you do and don't make it harder on yourself. So with his guidance, we actually were able to, I think, not make mistakes that we probably would have made left on our own. And it came out well, but yeah, the consulting and was key.
That's great. It's excellent to find the right person at the right time.
It is.
So lastly, just what recommendations do you have for folks if they were on this same journey?
Yeah, I think I can narrow it down to these three. So the first one, I would say, is do the research. Know why are you doing it? What's your value proposition to doing this? Is it because you want to be taken off of the every year we need to figure out how much is being allocated and we're going to remove that? Is it because it's a better business model for you? Why do you want to do this? And then as soon as you know that why, go to the business plan and make sure that you can support it. What are the costs on your team? What's the money that you may have coming in? Can you do this? Can you make a go of it? From our standpoint, it was almost liberating and freeing because we could really focus on the business then. And for us, it was a fabulous move. I guess if we ever have a really bad year, I may take those words back. But so far for us, I found it very freeing to be able to work directly with the business and do what we need to. Because on an allocated model, the business pays whether they use it or not, and now you don't have to fiddle-faddle with that. Now you're not dealing with the people that complain, well, I paid, I'm not using it, I don't want to do this. But really make sure you have the business model that will work. And then if you say, yeah, we have everything, do you have the skills in place? And then either hire it on or borrow it from another team, but somehow make sure you have it covered. It could be your finance department does understand your business, and then pull them in as a key player.
Okay.
That's it. So if anyone does it, good luck.
Please reach out to us. If you do make this transition, we would love to hear your story. And I suspect, Amy, would you be willing to take calls or emails from folks?
Absolutely. amy.graft@siemens.com. Happy to talk to you. And if you are doing this, I'd be curious to share stories too and see how it's going. Thank you.
Thank you.